All right, from the only one I come up with.
Presumably more will show up. I think we had 10 in person.
10?
And I think
Okay.
we'll leave it when I see it.
All right, well, I'm gonna sit to.
You sit up, bro.
I know, I'll see that thing right there. I was like, I'm gonna sit right there by the bed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
That looks like a safe seat.
Yeah, this right here. Yeah.
It's funny. I have the same thing. Like, I don't want to be on the back because then I'll just fall asleep. I'm usually like 2 or 3 rows, and what is it? I always sit on the left side because my right eye is stronger.
Yeah.
Like movie theaters and crap like that, I'm always like, I got to get just right.
Was stronger.
Yeah, without a doubt. There's always
Sure.
like
Yeah,
it's rare that like if you wear glasses that they're exactly the same.
yeah, that is true.
Yeah, it's like this one's a little different. Howdy, y'all. Oops. Hooray. It's a party. I'm going to make you all feel bad online that this is what you're going to be missing out on. I'm just being an ass now.
Well, Michael will show
They're driving on the way. I don't think Michael's flying down from New York.
up. He should be nice and cold by now.
Right? It's like, screw that.
There's always a storm. That they stopping in what, North Carolina now? They're not coming down south.
Right? So bad. I was making syrups last night, and I was like, I bought all this nice syrup and I couldn't find it. And I was like, I got in this morning. I was like, maybe I'll have time today to make it. Looked all over the place in the trailer, could not find it. It's in my backpack the whole time. I was like, I for the 4th time looked inside it. I was so pissed. Like I would have had a lovely vanilla syrup if it had.
You was rushing while you was looking.
Totally.
It's like we be looking for our phone. Where our phone at?
Yeah, right.
Oh.
It's in your hand. Yeah. Oh, actually, I'll pour you a little bit of that tea. It's actually a very mild, warm tea if you're down for it.
Oh yeah. Passion really? Sea beef. Maybe. Okay,
I'm only doing a little bit. Can I put a road syrup in there?
Oh yeah, I gotta be sweet.
Oh, there you go. I'm just giving taste until we find out how many people show
up. Right.
Like there's 5 of us in here, we could slam it.
Yeah, I just found the most efficient route down here now.
Oh, from Largo?
Mm-hmm. Like if I come straight down Park,
yeah,
make a left on 5th.
Yeah.
There's really no lights once you get past Park.
And Park is so not. I mean, there's the bumpy road part, but other than that, but like that's like a super highway along there.
Then you make a left on 5th Avenue. There's no lights until you come to 66.
Oh, and then you're there.
Yeah. Everything else is lights and people.
See, and I usually keep going all the way to Central or First to come up off of Park, but yeah, that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you got that roller coaster by the Pinellas Trail.
Right.
Sometimes I jump. I see if I can jump it sometimes all the time. I got a Jeep. Come on now. He's like,
oh, there you go. Yeah, you can have some fun in it. Right down on the south side, Thrill Hill, there's the classics. Hello. It would help if I knew what time it was. Yeah. I'm gonna say everybody usually fighting it out for the background for this class. Yeah, that is the warmest. That and maybe that corner because it's closer to the window, like the warm spots. And can I give you a spot of tea? It's that herbal tea. I'm just doing tastes of all of this, and if I might, I made a rose honey out of it. Yeah, I'll put that on these as well. I don't know how many people are going to be live in person, so
Thank you very much.
you're all very welcome. And I promise we'll get to snack on all the yummy stuff here in a bit. Oh, humans. Ooh, lots of humans. For any of you who are close by and slacking on coming out, this is the snack for the folks in person. Otherwise, you guys gotta eat all of this. What up? I just assume you want tea. All right, I made you come get it. Yeah, it's that with a little rose honey, rose syrup in it. There we go. Oh. I'm just going to start pouring and make some more if I need to. Everybody's looking for the power spot. Hello. Oops. Yay, brave soul sitting up front. Ooh. If I can offer you some tea, it's that formula with a rose syrup in it. I think I got everybody who's waiting to fit in. Hide you all. Mostly I just want to eat the food and screw talking. No, let's get that out of the way. It's gonna stay over there. All right, we'll give the masses like 3 minutes, then we'll get started. It's hide, hide, hide. There we go. Ah. I think what it could have. Yes, but I wasn't ready. I was wondering if anyone showed up. Oh, I have no idea. Luckily I told the coordinator, I'm like, I'm not gonna be there today. Hopefully somebody else will maybe. First one I missed actually. Don't think I put anything in there. I know who's coming.
Hey Bob,
You.
is this is going to registrants only or it's gonna go up on the YouTube channel?
Oh, that's a really good question. I don't know. See, depends on how stupid I get when I'm talking.
Okay.
So we shall see. But definitely anybody who's registered will get a copy of the recording. I don't remember whether I quit. It's that little rose syrup in it. Wow, this is fire. Candied ginger. I love this. Need to wake up. I got here at 8 this morning. Started teaching at 10. All right. Make a space. Looks like one more person's coming. Hello.
Whoa. Oh, what a spread.
Right.
What
Ah,
is this?
that is that with a little rose syrup in it. There. All right. I'm going to say nobody else is coming. The hell with them. Now I'm choking on my finger. Hot. There's so much crap here. I have no space to do anything. So I know most of you, but I'm gonna say, hey, I'm Bob, and I appreciate y'all giving up your Friday afternoon. Talk about sex. No, it's funny when I teach this class for my senior students. It's always funny because I used to teach this for 8th grade dropout prevention, not this exact class, but I taught sex ed for 8th graders. Yeah, that would be horrifying if I taught this class. And it was always interesting. I did dropout prevention and teaching those kids sex and drugs, rock and roll. And then I ended up doing an internship at Admiral Farragut, the private military school down here, which tended to be richer kids, not dropout prevention, although they were pretty iffy too. And I walked in there, they didn't have, for their middle school, they didn't have a curriculum for drug and alcohol and sex ed. They just never existed in their school. And so I was like, well, I'm here 6 months. I've taught this a lot. And I was like, I'll teach it. And they're like, but we don't have a textbook. And I was like, never used a textbook. And I taught the exact same curriculum, exactly the same way. And it didn't matter whether it was inner city kids or whether it was some rich kids from somewhere else. They had the same misconceptions, the same questions and everything else. And it was always interesting. I'm not going to do that to you all, I promise. It was always interesting because the first day of class, what I did was like, your assignment is to write down 3 questions and don't put your name on the paper. And I collected them. I designed the curriculum around whatever questions, crazy ass stuff that they gave me. And this was before there was Google. So I was like, oh my God, I had to learn so much. It was so much work to do that. And the idea of the way sex, sexuality, aphrodisiacs, because we're covering more of that here. And even when we talk about the physical function of male and female, the reality is so many misconceptions, so much confusion, and ultimately most of the herbs that are popular on TikTok don't do shit. They're I won't say they're useless. They tend to be very male focused. And in clinical practice, the guys were always coming in for herbs for sexual health. And it was always, I won't call it sad, but it was 20-year-old boys who were saying, I need something more. And it was like they wanted to be Superman. And the women tended to not be looking for anything until they started to get perimenopausal or menopausal, and we started to see vaginal dryness and things like that, or just disappointment with their partner. And they were more capable of articulating what they needed. The problem was when it was a moisture issue, that was pretty easy. There's lots of herbs that are good for that. But whenever we say like, ooh, herbs for sexual health, it tends to be 90% dude herbs. And not to say those don't work for women, they have a role in it. But what I'm finding is I would say I'm seeing more 20, 30, 40-year-old guys whose testosterone levels are totally fine, but they have erectile dysfunction. or a lack of libido. And I'm finding women younger and younger a lack of libido. And they, all of the classical herbs we find on TikTok, the ones that are in the book, Viagra, there's nothing like that for women. They tend not to work because I'm finding that anxiety is starting to lead the issues with that. So it's more of a mental emotional issue rather than a blood flow issue. Dudes can't fake it because, like, you can tell. And this is, I love this stupid comic there, and I apologize, but it really makes me happy. So that's, we're going to kind of explore all of that as we go through here. And selfless self-promotion. Sorry, there's a bunch of new crap here. And a bunch of classes coming up in the near future. For any of you who either want to retake 101, but that's the start of the Western Herb program, or are thinking about it, it's like a weekend intensive. That's the start for the Western program, or just a cool class to take on your own. There's only 2 more class dates I think this year. February 25th, Holy River. I meant to play their music as you came in. Oh, well, I screwed up. If you haven't heard them, they're on YouTube. Phenomenal music. This will be their 3rd time playing here. So whenever they're on tour, coming through Florida, I always snag them. And it's a fundraiser for the local chapter of the American Herbalist Guild. I'm going to do an herb walk for about an hour before they play. We'll put the plant singing machine out there for a little bit just to kind of warm up, and then rock out in the garden. Even if it rains, we'll move it inside. The hell with it. But they're really phenomenal. If you've never heard the instrument, a harmonium, they play that in a lot of their songs. It's just a cool instrument. One of my goals for the new year was to start to get more used to the garden, and it'll be dark by the time we're done. But if you haven't been out in the garden, come back this weekend, walk out in the garden. It's lovely. But that's a half-acre teaching garden that sits dormant too much of the time. So I got crazy. I got a food trailer out there. So I'm putting a tea and coffee trailer. It will be launched by the time Holy River, and then go on from there. And I've got someone doing donation-based yoga out in the gardens Thursday mornings at 8. And again, that in March, I'll have somebody doing guided meditation on Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. I know that's early, but whatever. And then the trailer will be open for tea at least from like 8 in the morning until probably 1 in the afternoon, except for special occasions. If you don't know, I've got a student clinic here where it's my students getting practice, and they're supervised, so it's a nice, easy way to get in. Monday night is acupuncture interns from Dragon Rises. Tuesday night is our Western herb interns, and Wednesday night is the Chinese herb interns. So if you have a preference, cool. If you don't, whatever, just get in whatever time works. Not today, because it's already over. Next Friday is the full moon market here. So there's a drum circle, usually about 15, 20 vendors. It's a free event. I enjoy it. So it's a good time. If it rains, they'll cancel it because it's all outside. Super appropriate for kids, puppies. You can come by for an hour, or some people stay for the whole evening. We have to throw their asses out. So it really is a good time. And this is the time of year when the weather's nice. Yay, spam. Check out the website, get on the mailing list, and we'll only spam you every other week with all the cool classes that are coming up. And I will say the garden is always out there. We're making a point to put, we've got some chair hammocks and hammocks out there. So whether we're out, we take them down at night so nobody walks away with them. But that garden is meant to be used by the community. And so if you're like, hey, we got Wi-Fi out there now, I just want to come and bang on your computer, or put on some headphones and listen to music, or just listen to the birds and the traffic, feel free to come out there and just park in a hammock and hang out. Like I encourage it. I don't want a parade of people out there, but like I would love to see 10 people out there having lunch and hanging out all the time. That would make me happy. I asked a friend if she had a poem or some sort of meditation. And she was like, well, what exactly is the theme of the class? And she sent me this, having no idea, but I thought it was so perfect. This is the Radiant Sutra. Tasting dark chocolate, a ripe apricot, a luscious elixir, savor the expanding joy in your body. Nature is offering herself to you. How astonishing to realize this world can taste so good. When sipping some ambrosia, raise your glass, close your eyes, toast the universe. The sun, moon, and earth dance together to bring you this delight. Receive the nectar on your tongue as a kiss of the divine. I just thought it was, could not have gotten more perfect, because a lot of what I want to talk about is, yay, herbs. Yeah, we'll talk about this, I promise. But throughout history, food has been a huge aspect of aphrodisiacs. And so often, like, I eat my car, I'm hauling ass, I'm always going 100 miles an hour, and I don't stop to savor food. I love food. I should weigh 400 pounds. I like, given the opportunity, I will cook 24 hours a day and just stuff my pie hole full of yummy stuff. Um, and even then, I come from a long line of people who don't chew. And so I don't stop to savor the food and explore the texture, the flavors, the smells of stuff. And so I purposely chose some foods that are considered aphrodisiac foods. And for any number of different reasons, I'm going to explore that a little bit. But the idea of taking the time, instead of going, I love chocolate, and stuffing it in your pie hole, to actually sit there and taste the flavors and the expansion that goes through there. And when I talk about, there's sex, which is blood flow or moisture flow, but then there's intimacy. And so if we're looking at how do we create a connection and a relationship with another person, and sharing food, I'm a Taurus, I like food, it's the same as intimacy to me. And so how we explore those things together and savoring that, those nuances of these things, I think is important. But then also when we're working with a partner, all those different, like, I'm a big fan of the nonverbal communication, touch, food, texture. Those are things that are important. If we're just talking about blood flow and orgasm, that's great too, but that's different. And so that's a very physical aspect. And it's funny, this has only happened once, and the gazillion patients I've had, they said there's an herb in my formula that's changing my pheromones, those natural scents that sometimes we're like, why are you attracted to that person? And you're like, we don't have anything in common, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, I don't know, but I get one whiff of them and I'm mad about them. And so what is it? And they're like, this herb formula changed their pheromones. And they could tell once they got the wrong formula filled, and I thought they would been given the right one. And it was his partner that was saying, like, nope, you cannot take that formula anymore. I don't care whether it works or not. It doesn't smell right. So we can change our pheromones, and we'll look at some foods. I didn't bring any of them. Did I? No. Pheromones can change the taste of vaginal secretions and semen, for better or worse. And obviously those kinds of things matter. So thinking about the role of this, but also the role of these foods with our partner, becomes a really important thing. And, I'll leave that to other people to talk about all the details. I'm sticking with the stuff that we can eat. It's so funny. Every culture, we can go back thousands of years, every culture had their aphrodisiac foods. And so we got Rocky Mountain oysters that are out Rocky Mountains, bull testicles. We've got Manish water, which was goat testicles out in the islands. It's funny. It tends to be one of two things: either the reproductive organs of a critter, or something really disgusting that requires you to just overcome your own disgust over whatever. And I don't know why that's there. But when we look at a lot of our other herbs and foods, they tend to be really good digestive foods. And part of the problem was there were issues through the millennia, especially as we started to go into cities and do things like that. We got stank breath, and nobody wants to get up close to somebody who's got rotten teeth and stinky mouth, right? So we had all of these aromatic, like mint and carminatives and basil. These were things that made your breath not so nasty. But we also, because we didn't have refrigeration, so many of our foods were rotten. So everybody's walking around with these bloated bellies, burping and farting, and that's not hot. Uh, and so we had all of these categories of herbs that we call carminatives. And carminatives are things that calm down your belly, that bloating, gas, all of that fun stuff. There's a term that we use in Chinese medicine, borborygmus, which is that the gurgling of your stomach. The word sounds like the sound it makes. So a lot of those things tend to fall into that category of stuff that was considered aphrodisiac, but it's important to understand why. Sorry, whoops, too fast. Oh, let's go for these. It's really funny. I taught this class forever prior to COVID. Every year I would teach this one. It was always fun. I made lots of weird foods, usually, or brought foods. And I stopped doing it with COVID and I never started up again. So I was just like, I went to go like, oh, let me update my PowerPoint. There was no PowerPoint. So I, in a panic, made all of this last night. So I have no idea what order any of these are in. So I think it, and it's funny, I'm going to talk from personal experience. I am very protective of my kitchen. Like, y'all stay the hell out of my, you can watch me cook, don't get in my kitchen. So I consider letting a significant other into my kitchen and cooking together a very intimate thing, or like, I need to trust you a lot to let you into my kitchen with a knife or a spatula or anything like that. I'm just like, I'm uptight, I guess, whatever. So the idea of cooking a meal together, preparing, whether somebody's chopping, somebody's stirring or whatever, that act of creating a meal, creating something with the intention that becomes your foreplay in the kitchen, I think can be, and again, if you hate cooking, you're just like, well, then calling Uber Eats is hot, I guess. But also whether it's, you know, all of the special meals people are doing for Valentine's Day, where you get crappy meals for twice the amount of money. It can be eating out. Usually I say don't do it on holiday nights because the main chef is already out on vacation. But it's funny. I don't know if every parent has done this, but my mom made sure that my brother and I had date meals, something where I could impress my date and it was tasty, but within my skill set as a teenager or whatever that I could cook. And so there's those meals. And my mother was a terrible cook. And I really liked food even as a kid. So I had to learn how to cook really fast. And so I grew up in the Bahamas. So my date meals were roasted lobster with conch salad and so they didn't suck. So I want to talk about these specific foods. Pineapple, and sorry, I don't have any pineapple. Oh, actually I do. I have dried pineapple. It's not the same, but it's fine. A really nice digestive. It's an interesting mix of sweet and sour. It changes the taste of semen. It makes it fruity and sweeter, and also changes the vaginal secretion some. So yay, pineapple. Asparagus does the opposite. So it will change. And it's funny, a lot of people get the funny smelling pea when they eat a lot of asparagus. You'll find a lot of references to asparagus as an aphrodisiac food. Kinda. I will say anything that's phallic looking, asparagus being one of those, is usually considered an aphrodisiac. It doesn't do a whole lot. It's very nutritious. And so high in B vitamins, and those are good for stress. But it will particularly make semen not taste good for about 2 or 3 days, and the same for the vaginal secretions. For breastfeeding moms, it can change the breast milk as well, so that the baby kind of is like, maybe I don't want this.
That include Chatavari.
So we'll talk about Shatavari. So Shatavari and Tian Mendong, Chinese are asparagus root. And the Shatavari is like the premier Ayurvedic aphrodisiac herbs specifically for women. Not to say it's not effective for men too, but it's really geared towards women. And it's great unless you're breastfeeding. And the root doesn't seem to affect it as much as the asparagus shoots, the part that we eat more commonly. I'm going to say seafood in general. Everybody's like oysters, aphrodisiac, blah, blah, blah. Stay with me. This is going to be a big, long circle. So seafood in general is a decent aphrodisiac. And for a healthy hormone system generically, seafood is your friend. All of the shellfish have value added. In China, sorry, I'm going to go back to Chinese medicine. I don't know Ayurvedic well enough, so feel free to chime in. In Chinese medicine, we put a flavor with every organ. So for women, we look at both the liver and the kidney as our sexual health, our reproductive health. For men, we primarily look to the kidney energy. Salty is the flavor of the kidney energy and about reproduction, for men especially. So anything that comes from the seawater more than freshwater has some sort of an aphrodisiac property. The mineralization in general of seafood, specifically oysters, are good for things like your entire endocrine system, all your glands, but specifically your thyroid. It is necessary to have seafood and seaweed kind of stuff in there. And that's anxiety, depression, metabolism. So there's a lot of stuff that's in with the thyroid on that. So if you're like, yeah, well, I'm vegetarian, I'm not eating that stuff, seafood can be seaweeds. I would say almost identical. And I brought some seaweed for anybody who wants to have some here in a minute. Avocado, and didn't bring any, sorry. Avocado is a wonderful fat. And so most of our reproductive hormones or sexual hormones are fat-based. And if you don't have enough essential fatty acids in your body, none of your hormones are going to work properly. So like they'll even test them. You go to like, I don't know why I'm all messed up. They test them, your hormones are fine, but they can't act on the body. And so making sure you have enough healthy fats in your body is vitally important. And I would say as a culture, we eat all the wrong fats. We want deep fried bacon, which is not always the best fat, rather than a seeds or nuts or avocado. It is a better choice for our healthy fats. Fish oil would be in the healthy fat category. Avocados also are considered an aphrodisiac food specifically for women because it is, and this is the concept of doctrine of signatures. When something looks like something, it's good for. And so when we take the seed out of that, it literally looks like a uterus, right? And so the upper part of it has that look that's more like the vaginal canal. And then we've got the uterus is where the seed was sitting. And so any food that has that some semblance to a reproductive organ, it's considered a winner. And I'm just going to generically say flowers, roses, obviously, and I just piled roses on everything. We don't give black roses or orange roses, we give red roses. We want to show our love. So and so why red roses? And the flower itself, if we were looking at the flower, it is, a lot of people say it resembles the vaginal opening and things like that, but it's like kind of sort of, if you like squish the flower around and do some weird stuff to it. The smell is lovely, but roses are thought to be heart opening. And so too often one of the roadblocks to intimacy is us protecting our heart, our emotions, right? And so there's sex where we don't involve our emotions, but we have relationships and intimacy. All of a sudden we're like, no, we have to open our heart and not be afraid. So flowers in general, and a number of other herbs that we'll talk about, chocolate's right on the list, there we go, cacao, are all thought to be heart opening. But also when we look at, I mentioned like the various testicles of animals and so forth that are used as aphrodisiacs, the flowers are the reproductive organ and have both male and female reproductive parts in most flowers. So when we're eating a flower, we're eating the ovaries, the eggs, and the semen of a plant, and is considered to have some semblance of hormonal-like actions. They're phytohormones, right? We talk about phytoestrogens, things like that. There's all the the pine pollen, we probably won't have time to talk about, is thought to be almost like testosterone. It's literally the pollen out of pine trees is touted as being aphrodisiac. And so I just say, eat flowers. Take the whole flower, go pick some Spanish needles out there, throw it in your salad. It's yummy. It's good for you. But the red color of the roses is reminiscent of the heart, rather than the actual reproductive organs that everybody talks about it for. So, and they smell lovely. And I'm going to take a moment. Let's eat stuff. Actually, I'm going to have you all taste stuff first. There's not an easy way to do this. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to just put some of the rose syrup in here. Just dump a little in your hand, whatever. That's fun. I made this last night. It's literally brown sugar, white sugar, water, and powdered rose. That's the only thing in here. So syrups are, like you go into wherever and I want 12 pumps of this gross chemical, artificial. That stuff's some toxic ass stuff and it tastes weird. A syrup, it literally took me 5 minutes to make this rose syrup. Literally a cup of sugar, a cup of water, a quarter cup of the powdered rose, brought it to a boil, took it off the fire, and strained it into the thingy. And I think it's freaking yummy. I'm a little biased, admittedly.
That's what you gave us earlier, right?
So this was the tea, but I put a splash of this in there. Just I wanted to bring out the rose the rose note of it. It's so funny. I get busy. I don't spend time cooking as much as I should or would like to, and trying to create some of the tea blends and syrups and stuff for that. I've had way too much fun. I haven't made a syrup in 15 years probably, and I was like, oh crap, this really is super easy and so much better than the stuff that we get at Starbucks or Kava bars or wherever. It's just like I won't touch that stuff. So basil, I gotta talk about basil. And wow, how did I forget? I'm sorry. I literally I did an herb walk this morning till noon. And then I ran out to the store to buy all this. And I was like, I forgot basil and I don't have any growing here. And so just Italian basil, yay, sweet basil, whatever we want to call it. And this was yay, it makes good pesto and fun food to throw into a salad, any which way you want to play with. Its relationship as a aphrodisiac is it's carminative, so it's for stress-induced bloating and gas. So it's mild, but it's good for that. But it was actually put out in the red light district to show you when there was somebody available for prostitution. They would put basil plants in the front window to say, like, come on. And so it started to get associated with sexual favors and so forth. Chocolate. You got to have some fun with chocolate. And there are so many ways to do that. And I know everyone's going to get wired on chocolate. It's Friday night. Who cares? This is just mint because I think mint's pretty and smells nice. I want you to just take the smallest piece. Feel free to break it or whatever. This is 92% cacao. So there's not a lot of crap in it. And then each one of these, I have three other ones that have things added to it. And so I want you to not like, oh, yum, and chow down. Like literally take that, like I was going, and leave it in your mouth. Don't try to swallow it. Roll it around on your tongue. Find like what's the first flavor. How does it nuance and change? Because it goes from mild to a little sweet to bitter, and the sweet comes back. So enjoy. What order shall I do that? You're going last. Who is this? It's just another dark chocolate. Let's see if this tastes the same. I'm just going to be wired on chocolate. No, that one's better.
That's why I thought we needed to eat our dinner. Hurry up and eat it so we can have all this dessert.
Have your dessert first. Screw it. So this one is just regular chocolate with a little sea salt in it. Actually, I think this one was my favorite. I had to taste all these first. And it's funny, the way the salt comes out, and there's not that many of you here, so y'all chow down. Just to, set the example, not because I like it.
Favorite breakfast.
Yeah, right. So this last one is cherries with chilies. So there's a little spice in it. So if you can't do like hot peppers or something, don't eat it, but damn, it's good. Screw that. Enjoy it. Ah. So let's see, which one are we on? Okay, you guys are on the sea salt. I'll wait till you get the sea salt, then you. Oh, there it comes. Yeah. Watch my time. Oh, we're rocking it. I want to actually talk about herbs, I promise. So all three really dark chocolate. What was the difference? The difference in your body, in your mouth, in your brain? What did you like? What sucked? Any thoughts on those? Not a fan of the chilies? That's all right.
I like that one.
It is so interesting. So the sea salt I always think is interesting. Whoever made that chocolate bar does not know anything about Chinese medicine and salt guiding to the kidneys and blah, blah, reproductive health. And yet it's a really common additive. The chilies or hot pepper and cinnamon are both very classical. So chocolate originally comes from Central America. And so both as a ceremonial, medicinal, and recreational drink, almost always had either cinnamon or chilies added to it because it makes you sweat. And so that heart opening aspect and it's stimulating out to the extremities. What happens? We eat a lot of spicy food and we're like, everything's sweat, our face turns red, our arms turn red. And so part of that is to push that heart opening, but it is unpleasant sometimes, especially if you don't like spicy. But if you ever do a cacao ceremony with somebody, it almost always has some sort of hot peppers in it, and or cinnamon. In case they're like nightshade, sometimes like, oh, somebody's got nightshade issues, then they'll just do cinnamon and crank up the cinnamon a little bit. Still yummy. Chocolate, dates. So it's funny, people get dates and figs confused a lot. Both are considered, it's got some roses on it. So dates come from a palm tree. These have seeds in them, by the way. So if you bite down, you break a tooth. So nibble on the sides, find the seeds, spit it out. And then this is the figs. Both of these I don't think either one is native here, but both grow really well. If you go down, Williams Park downtown on 3rd Street in front of it's across the street from Williams Park by the college there's 2 or 3 date palms. The ground is littered with these. And it's so lousy. They're super young. I'll pick them up on the ground. I give a damn. You knock the dirt off the roaches. It's fine. There's a homeless population that's, half starved over there. And the yummiest, most nutritious thing you ever can imagine is rotting on the ground there. So I'm going to encourage you all, and in no particular order, but I want to kind of talk about all of these. So sorry, I'm going to do this the fun way. So that's a fresh fig. They're all dried. They're not in season. So this is an ovary. So that doctrine of signature for reproductive health. This is very nourishing. There was a Ayurvedic doctor came over from India, and I was at a herb conference, and he basically did a bunch of lectures. A really nice guy, and sat there and like for $15 you could do tongue and pulse diagnosis. Every single formula that he gave was like eat 3 dates or 3 figs, 6 almonds, and a date. And I'm just like, really? Is that? And I've done that a few times to people. This is magic. Figs and dates are, even though they're super sweet and yummy, they are so nutritious and specific. They're high in fiber. They're balancing to the digestive system and in some ways the reproductive system as well. Papaya, sorry, I'm gonna stuff my face. I love figs. Papayas, when we cut them in half, again, looks like a uterus and a vagina. I'm actually going to pass these around. I'm not going to. This is mango. This is a dried mango. I'm just going to torture you all and sit here and eat it all. And there is a fresh mango. I just think it's pretty when I display it that way. These are dried pineapple. Oh, I haven't tried that yet. And I'm actually going to suggest you start with these. They look rough because they didn't use sulfites to preserve it. So unsulfured fruit tends to be messy. It's an apricot. And so I literally bought those because of the poem. But the flavor on an apricot is very subtle in this. So I would actually say, you want try this first because the other flavors will kind of cover over it. I guess I could take those fresh mangoes. If you don't know it, this is the best way to do a mango. I grew up in the Bahamas. There were so many mango trees down there. I love mangoes, but they are a messy fruit that we always said we'd go and steal mangoes from whatever tree we could find. And we'd run to the beach because it was so, and we never had a knife or anything. And you would just peel it with your face and you'd end up with just juice all over and the hairstyle, and you had to go swimming. You weren't going to make it otherwise. So I think, Bob's personal opinion, I think mango is one of the messiest but sensual things you can eat. It's just like, I'm sorry, I will not embarrass myself in front of you all. So good. And feel free to take as much as you want. Needless to say, I brought too much stuff. These are set on a banana leaf, and then the more heart-shaped leaves are Piper Aronton. A lot of people know that as false kava. I'm offended by that name. It is just not the herb of commerce. It has all the same functions, but tastes way better. But all of your Piper, saving these for me, is basically the same. But here, you guys can share later. You can share later. But it's so funny. Your heart, in case you didn't know it, is not shaped like this. It's more shaped like this with 4 chambers in it. I don't know where we got this, but again, it's cross-cultural. And so we have these leaves that are our classic heart shape. They grow around here and they are anti-anxiety. They have other functions as well, but they're really strong anti-anxiety. And so I added those to the plate. They are classically eaten in Central and South America and Mexico. But the heart shape, again, if we're going to, in my case, prepare a meal to talk about intimacy and sex and functionality, we're looking for as many ways as we can to portray those concepts with what we do. Whether we're drawing it, we're throwing roses down, whether we find heart-shaped leaves, it doesn't matter. It's the concept and the intention that goes into all of our actions can make such a difference. Oh, I'll go back. I don't have any cacao. If I was really smart, I would have gotten one this past weekend. So that's a fresh cacao pod there on the bottom. And that's where your chocolate comes from. And so it's like allowed to ferment, then dried, roasted, and then ground up, and they make chocolate. The one on the left, where you see the white, like little kernel looking things, that's the fruit that grows around the seed itself. That is edible. If you go down Saturday morning market, there's usually some guys down there selling like whole cacao pods. Please get one. You can eat that, and it seems like it's becoming better known in the United States, but usually that's something you only know if you're in South America or something. It was funny, Rocio, wonderful woman from Ecuador that we had up here to teach a while back. She was like, the taste, and her English is way better than my Spanish. And she couldn't figure out how to explain the flavor. And she was like, I'll spare you all the gestures and the hilarity that goes with it, but it was like, it tastes like cum. is what she finally ended up saying. And I was like, I guess that if you tell people that before they eat it, they may not enjoy it, but I do encourage you, if you buy it, it should be a fairly bright white and smell like this sweet muskiness to it. It's lovely and balances out the bitter of the unprocessed cacao beans. So like cacao bean, way more bitter than what you just ate. And that sweetness will just kind of like balance it out perfectly. So these are boring, so I'm going to go through them fast. Relationships are challenging. Sometimes dating's challenging. There's stress, performance anxiety. And so when function is fine, and this is always a hard question when a patient comes to me and they go, so, what do you got for, it's so funny. I have to learn all the slang for everything from every culture. It's like, what do you got for a man's nature? And I was like, huh? It was like, it took me a while to figure that out. I'd never heard that term before. But, if somebody, especially for men, they're like sexual function, they were like, it's not like it used to be. The hard question that I always have to ascertain to figure out the right herbs. Yeah, please enjoy. I brought that to stuff our pie hole. Is it a blood flow issue, which obviously then we got to change blood flow, or is it an anxiety issue? And the easiest way to say that, and in the most polite way to ask somebody whether it's a blood flow issue or an anxiety issue, is like, is your erectile function fine when you're by yourself? If we say the word masturbation, now everybody's hiding and blushing and running under the table. And so be able to give them an out without saying what, we all know to be true. If the function is fine while you're by yourself, where anxiety is not an issue, then it's an anxiety issue. Then our anti-anxiety herbs are going to be the more effective ones. If it's like, no, my junk doesn't work, well, then it's probably a blood flow or a hormone issue or something along those lines. So I really like adrenal formulas or adrenal herbs, first dates, fifth dates, when's, going to see the parents, whatever, like those stressful events that we can anticipate. I love those adrenals to help us adapt to those stress so that our function maintains. Essential fatty acids, that's fish oil or plant oils that you can buy. Uh-oh, she's throwing stuff. Those you can take as a supplement or just looking for foods that are high in essential fatty acids. From a fertility standpoint, we see a lot of folks here that either are thinking about getting pregnant, have been trying for, if you've been actively trying to get pregnant for a year and nothing's happened, then you go to a fertility expert, blah, blah, blah. That's awesome. But I don't have any kids, but if I did, I would want to make a super child, right? And it was like, I want to do everything in my power to make the greatest child that ever existed on the planet. And it's not as common as it used to be. It was like, well, it's the woman's fault if she can't get pregnant, right? It was like, last time I checked, you're half the problem. And so I used to be only women would come to me for fertility. And I'd always like, where's your other half? Why aren't they here making sure that they're not part of the issue? And what we find is the number of sperm have gone down, sperm motility. Dudes are at least half the issue. That, and any number, we can say the toxic environment, whatever you want, but the fertility rates in men and women have gone down dramatically in just the last 30 or 40 years. For men, we usually look at the turnover in sperm as about 3 months. And so I always say, give me a 3-month window. And so vitamin C generically is one of those things that you can take to ensure that the least inflammation in the sperm and semen for the genetic material is going to have less damage, less inflammation with vitamin C. So just taking a mild amount of vitamin C for making happy sperms that swim, a little stronger is a great one. Zinc, minerals in general, as we age, our stomach acid goes down. It's harder to get all the minerals we need to make stuff. zinc is one of those minerals that is key for healthy hormones, testosterone in particular, glandular function, and we frequently don't get enough in our diet. If we're not eating fresh seafood in particular, seafood tends to be high in zinc. Most of folks over 60 probably are deficient in zinc. Or anybody who's on acid reflux meds, long term is probably low in all the minerals, but zinc in particular. When it gets severe, we lose our sense of smell and taste. And so when I see a 70 or 80-year-old, they're like, yeah, don't smell my food or taste my food, so I just eat mud. I was like, you've got a zinc deficiency. And you can test it, but usually it's hard to hurt yourself with zinc. If you're doing around, I would say 50 milligrams or less as a daily supplement, you're not going to OD on it, right? Unless you're on like the all oyster diet or something, I guess. Yeah.
Question, go back. So the 3 months is starting to count?
That, yeah, your turnover, like you're making new boogers. And so it's funny. We always think like estrogen is for women and testosterone for men. All of us have all this, like even luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone, which is like for the ovaries to spit out an egg and blah, blah, blah. We have like, oh, dudes got those too. We use them for sperm production. So for that same process, instead of a 1 month cycle, we have a 3 month cycle, right? We're all screwed up.
That's interesting because Dr. Linde
Oh yeah,
tends to say that
Vasant Lad, badass Ayurvedic dude.
yeah, he tends to say every 10 days
Mm-hmm.
men are gonna want to unload.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Chinese, I should have put that chart up there. Depending on your health and how old you are, is how many times a dude can orgasm. And so I think as we get over 70 and not in great health, we're like allowed 1 orgasm every 30 days or something like that. Teenagers can just party down. One time women get the good end, you can have as many orgasms as you want. You don't get all screwed up. You'll get dehydrated, but that's about it. The idea, I don't know why I didn't put these slides in here. So the idea of essence, the life force that we're all given, and life is finite, that sucks, but ultimately birth, growth, and development is, whatever our average lifespan is these days. For women, we have a mark of that normal progression of life. We go through reproductive years, right? There's menarche, you start your menses, then you have however many years that you have your menses, your reproductive years, then we see menopause. And so we mark that by the ending of your menses, that you're no longer able to bear children. And that is the growth of Jing from birth to your first menses. And then it continues to be strong until menopause, and then it's like we see the true decline. Guys are a little bit different. We don't have this line in the sand where we're like, I'm okay up to this point. So for women, you lose your essence through menstruation, right? You're the thing that provides life, that egg that every 28 days or so, you slough off your lining, you lose the egg, or it's fertilized and you make a baby. And the running joke is, after your menses, you're exhausted. Leave me alone. I'm tired. You've lost a little bit of your life, right? That egg fell out and didn't get used. Like, oh my God, I'm tired. I have to regenerate some strength. Eat a steak or something. Dudes, we don't lose our essence through menstruation. We lose it through orgasm, through sperm, because that's our genetic donation. And so every time we orgasm, and the running joke, I always say after sex, women had their chi invigorated, hopefully, so they want to chat. Men want to roll over and go to sleep because, oh my God, I just died a little bit, right? And we got to regenerate our strength, like, holy crap. And so we both are losing our essence, and nature dictates how many menses you can have. Mensi, I don't know what that word is. And for dudes, we to some point control how fast we die, right? And so the over, we can argue all the like over access to porn and all those kinds of things, but I used to hear about people who are addicted to porn. I probably see one person a month that's coming in, and from that cool energetic, like they're so depleted because they're losing their essence a little faster than is norm. They're exceeding that norm. So y'all, the women here, y'all can have as much fun as you want. Drink water, you'll be fine. All you dudes, slow the hell down. So L-arginine, sorry, took me off on fun tangents. L-arginine and L-lysine, and these are two amino acids, and they're really interesting. So L-arginine is in a lot of your testosterone precursor blends. They're in a lot of your weightlifting, weight gain, like all the gym rats are sitting there with their protein powders, putting all of the, and it's usually L-arginine. A lot of your energy drinks are full of L-arginine. And so it actually causes your blood vessels to relax, which is necessary for men to get an erection and for the clitoris and the surrounding tissues for women to engorge as well. That's kind of the same mechanism. It's close enough for government work to the same tissues. And that's fine. L-arginine is generally safe. It can change your blood pressure a little bit. As long as your blood pressure is generally okay, L-arginine is fine. Lysine doesn't have a role in sexual function so much. It is, yay, it's good for collagen production. So awesome. So stay young, do that. But the reason I even put these two supplements on there is 1 in 4 people have either oral or genital herpes. So really freaking common. And outbreaks are always at an inconvenient time, and they're triggered usually by food or stress. Those are the two things that tend to be the trigger for that. So foods high in L-arginine or supplements, i.e. your energy drinks and protein drinks, will cause an outbreak of herpes if you have it. L-lysine is the cure for it. It doesn't cure herpes, I wish, but it will either lengthen or, excuse me, reduce the severity and the length of an outbreak, or help to prevent it. So the Valtrex is the drug of choice that the MDs throw at you for it. But even if you're on the Valtrex and you're taking it every day the way you're supposed to, you're still going to get outbreaks, stress, or too much food. Lysine as a daily supplement works about as well, and you just double or triple the dosage if you're like, oh, I got an outbreak coming. I also, lysine, so the herpes virus, that is a category of chickenpox as a herpes virus, shingles as a herpes virus, Epstein-Barr is a herpes virus. So there's a lot of those. I think there's 13 plus ones running around that piss us off on a regular basis. Some of them are sexually transmitted, other ones are not. Lysine seems to be helpful for all of that category of viruses and slows their ability to reproduce. So viruses, they attack your cells and they party down and they expand throughout the body. When COVID hit, I didn't have time for COVID, presumably, and it's weird. It's like Michael always says, it's like, you got it, you just don't know. And it's like, my brother theoretically has never gotten it either. And so there may be some genetic predisposition that I'm just freaking lucky. I've had people in the room 6 feet away, talk to them for an hour. They walk out, test positive 5 minutes later. I've never gotten, as far as I know. My brother's wife's had it 3 times, sleeping in the same bed, never showing up with COVID. I don't know whether he takes lysine every day. I take lysine every day specifically for, I ain't got time to get sick. So yay, I don't have herpes, nor do I want it. But the lysine is really helpful for any kind of viral disorder, and slowing down its progression. So if I, like, somebody coughs on me, I'm going to go take 2. Somebody's test positive for COVID, lets me know, I'm taking 3. So hopefully keep going with that. B vitamins. I love B vitamins for stress, their nerve function. So especially as people age, or multiple childbirths, or all the fun stuff that comes along with that, loss of sensation can be a real issue. And so B6 in particular, but I'd say all the B vitamins in general are really good for nerve function. And I think of the B vitamins as your stress vitamins as well. They do better as a combination. I would say anybody who's vegan, please take a B complex. I don't care about anything else. Take a B complex, you'll be fine. It's always funny. like diet and lifestyle, God, we're all sick of hearing that, but it is the single most important thing. Blood sugar issues, and notice I didn't say diabetes. Diabetes, erectile dysfunction, and infertility is really common with diabetes. It reduces blood flow, and we need blood flow. But sometimes our blood flow is reduced long before we show up with diabetes. And so lower in carbohydrate and sugar diets can make sure that we don't restrict our blood flow, that we don't get cholesterol plugging up the arteries that we want working really well. I would also say, like, I would sit here and eat ice cream day and night, but then I'm going to be bloated and snotty and I don't want to have sex. And so if we're like, yay, it's Valentine's Day, it's our anniversary, it's whatever, don't sit there and have the pesto cheese with all the beer. Like, you're literally going to be farting. And so like think about what you're eating, have a more reasonable meal and make it easily digestible, not the like foods I know I shouldn't eat, but I do anyway because they're yummy. So really think about that. One of the hardest ones to deal with is like my running joke is we all have baggage, right? We're all seriously fucked up, physically, emotionally, whatever. And in a relationship, it's not that nobody's bringing baggage to the relationship. Your luggage needs to match. That's all. And so it's not about one person's job to fix somebody else's trauma and baggage. It's merely to recognize it and see where those triggers are and respect it. But there's a number of herbs, and we'll talk about those. Promise, I'm going to talk about herbs. To find either flower essences or herbs that can help modify how we respond to some of that trauma and baggage. And so it is probably the hardest thing. It's me, it's not you. Sometimes it is. Oops, you can't read what herb that is. It's ginseng, whether you can see it or not. There we go. All right, I stole some of Ruthie's stuff. So there is a lot of different types of ginseng. There's American, Chinese, Luthero, and Japanese. They're the only two that are actually true ginsengs are the American and Chinese. Those are both ginsengs. But we call this Siberian ginseng, Eleutherococcus chinensis. And the Japanese ginseng is more commonly used in Chinese medicine, but it's Prince Sang root. It's David Winston's a big fan of it. They all are good adaptogens. They help us adapt to stress, and they're all touted as these sexual super duper is such bullshit. These are herbs that are adaptogens, help us adapt to stress, and they're nourishing herbs and will work on sexual function when you are depleted and old. So a 21-year-old takes this, ain't gonna do a damn thing. A 71-year-old who's walking around like this and can't get himself out of bed, much less get himself up, that's where these have good function. And I apologize, the way I define herbs generally, there are those herbs that help with debility, right? We're aged, we're ate up, whatever, we're worn out. So those are gentle, nourishing herbs that will get us to a place of function. And then there's Saturday night herbs that are blood flow, yay, have a good time. And it's important to recognize there's a difference between those, and both have a role. Like sometimes it's fun. Whereas our herbal Viagra, it doesn't exist, but it comes close. So ginsengs are good for those older, nourishing folks. For all the people who tell you, like, yeah, take this ginseng pill for Saturday night for a good time, it won't do a damn thing. It's all placebo. It's in your head. Sorry. American ginseng is moistening and cool. So for dry, hot people, this is great for things like diabetes, menopause, things like that. Chinese ginseng is moistening and warm. Eleuthero is dry, and This is very moistening and has a function, especially for dry lungs. And so I'm a phlegmy person because I eat way too much yummy stuff. I love eleuthero. Menopausal women, I'll frequently, I won't say frequently, it's not wrong to recommend American ginseng. The odd thing about these, everybody's like, whoa, don't take it at night. You'll sleep better if you take those at night, except for the eleuthero. That one can be stimulating. I like my stimulants. All of these can slightly lower blood sugar. So if you're diabetic, be careful. Take them with food. They occasionally will slightly lower blood pressure. It's not very common, but sometimes it will. Damiana. I could just talk the rest of the time about Damiana. So this is considered more of a woman's herb. And the ginsengs, by the way, can be male or female. Damiana can be a Saturday night herb or a long-term use herb. The Tonaria diffusa, the herb of commerce, and sometimes it's called Tonaria aphrodisiaca or something like that, is warming and has it's not an antidepressant, it's not an anti-anxiety. I would say it's a mood lightening, a warming happiness that comes with it. Not giddy, you're not stoned out of your mind or anything, but it lightens the mood and allows you to be present. It seems to be balancing to the hormones with a focus on women's hormones. It can be drunk as a tea. You can eat it. It doesn't taste very good, although it is in your tea that you drank. People smoke it. Smoking's bad for you. So like whatever, but it's very common. Like I would say it's one of the most common. People get mullein and damiana is probably two of the most common herbs to smoke together. This is safe anytime but when you're pregnant. There is an herb that is very easy to grow, considered an invasive, Tonaria omofolia, which we have a ton of it out here. It's a little bit of a bully. You can control it, but it'll run away. It's a Jamaican herb called ramgoat dash, or just ramgoat. It has a lot of the same hormonal function, but it's cooling instead of warming. And so slightly different. It's probably a better antimicrobial, and so it's used for sore throats and lung infections and things like that, but still seems to have more of the hormonal stuff, and it still has the it's a different mood lightening. So the true Damiana, warming, uplifting. I find the ramgoat is cooling and kind of, it's not sedating, and it gets rid of irritability. So if you're an asshole, use the local one. It's actually pretty effective.
Flowers are different too, right?
The what?
The flowers are different.
Ever so slightly. I suck. It's the tip of the flower. You're a better botanist than I am. It's this.
I don't know that I've seen the
The real one, I know.
I've only seen the one that grows.
I've seen pictures of the real one.
It's the tip of the flower petal. Yeah, this is super common. Yeah, the Jamaicans love this stuff. And ramgoat,
Sweet too.
the flowers are, the leaves are not sweet. The leaves are nasty.
Yeah, no, actually.
But yeah, it's the tip of the flower petal is as far as I know, the only way to tell. I've been trying to get the true Damiana forever. My brother was in Mexico for a couple of weeks. I was like, bring me back seeds from Mexico. And everybody he talked to was like, oh yeah, go down here. And they were dropping a pin. And he was like, is this it? I was like, no, I don't even know what the hell that is. There's nobody can find me Damiana seeds. Oh, she can mail some of that back. Oh, good call. Good call. We got one of our graduates down there. So hell yeah. So fenugreek is Chinese. I think it's an Ayurveda. It's comes from the Middle East. This is one of those cure-alls that it tastes good. It tastes like maple syrup. And so like fenugreek cookies, the best. It, depending on who you read, it raises testosterone, it raises progesterone, it helps with breastfeeding, it hurts with breastfeeding. Nobody freaking knows, but everybody gives it for everything. It is good for blood sugar issues. I do add that to my breast milk formulas. My breast milk formulas tend to produce breast milk better than the prescription drugs. So it's not the only herb in there. It is moistening, which for older dudes is frequently helpful. So for menopausal women, it's not wrong either because vaginal dryness is a really common issue. If you massive doses it, it's funny, now that I say that, I've seen people who were doing like a tablespoon a day in a smoothie. Men and women both get breast tenderness. So like, don't eat a pound of this. But it tastes good, so it's a nice thing to add to stuff. Horny goatweed was named because they saw a big field of this in Southern Europe and the goats were eating it, and goats are horny anyway. And so they don't need this plant to make them extra frisky. I have not seen this herb work for much of anything by itself. I think that was a great marketing plan in the 70s and 80s. Placebo is a powerful tool. And so if I say, like the name says it all, that said, it improves the microcirculation in the body as a whole, but tends to focus in the genitals, the hips, low back. I always say below the belly button. And so I use this for hip degeneration and things like that. But for somebody who's got poor blood flow in the genitals, for scar tissue, diabetes, it's good to put it into a formula. It works well as kind of the supporting role rather than as the main herb in a formula. The Chinese make it confusing. It's a yin tonic, which means it's moistening, and yet it's drying. I've tried to grow this here. I kill it every time. I've limped it along for like 3 years, and then you blink and it's dead. So it's kind of pointless. I was hoping that I had this one further up. Ladies, man, I have grown this here, but it's work. I've only been able to grow it in a pot. This belongs more up north, like North Georgia, North Carolina, north. You'll find this. It's actually a European plant. See the little like, ooh, why did you take a picture of this leaf in the rain? That's not rain. The plant has specialized cells on the top of the leaf that excretes that. And it's not even a good picture. Oh God, I don't know how to draw, so I apologize. As you get the leaf and then this is the top, the beads of fluids tend to gather up on the veins of the leaf. And this is something David Winston told me. This plant makes its own flower essence, and flower essence is kind of a homeopathic remedy that works on spiritual, emotional stuff. And we were doing an herb walk with David, and he said that the dew on this plant, these water that it excretes, is specifically for PTSD, especially for like anybody, yes, but specifically for women with sexual trauma, which unfortunately is way too common. And so drinking that water off of the fresh leaf and I like, yeah, you can buy it as a flower essence. Drinking the water off the fresh leaf is where I've seen it work 1,000 times better than I have in a flower essence bottle. So it is a gift the plant gives you. I always think that Lady's Mantle, the name and the genus on it, alchemy, this idea of transformation. I have given this to men and women, but it is considered a woman's herb. I use this herb a lot of times for people going through transgender, because they are alchemically changing themselves into the other gender. And so this plant provides protection and helps them with that transition. And the idea is the lady's mantle, it's a mantle is this cloak. So it allows them, nobody wants to be invisible, but in a place where women don't feel safe, this provides them a cloak of invisibility. No, it allows them to feel safe and protected as they travel through the world. And the dew off of that, when they haven't been safe through the world, it can provide that to be literally, you know, this plant pushes those fluids out, and this, you know, water off a duck's ass. So that trauma off of your back, as it provides that transformation and change and protection. So this is an underutilized herb. It tends to be like, oh, it's a birth herb. I'll throw a little pinch of this in a lot of people's tea for that protection or transformation kind of idea.
You.
Another one where I like the name. I really like the names of these. The names typically are coming from Latin or Greek back in the day. And so the Chinese use this, the Europeans use this. There's a lot, this grows everywhere, and everybody uses it for similar reasons. And so the genus Linoris, lion, cardiaca, your heart. And so I always, and the translation is usually mother's herb. So wort doesn't mean lumpy thing on your finger or something. Wort just means herb. St. John's wort, W-O-R-T, just means St. John's herb. So this is a mother's herb with a heart of a lion. And so you can use this through any stage in life. I love this for perimenopause and menopause. That idea, you know, frequently when you have these traditional gender roles, like dad goes to work and a woman stays home and raises the children, that doesn't happen much anymore. And in some ways, that's convenient. Dudes tend to identify, or whoever's working, if you're working full time, you frequently identify yourself through your job. Like, I'm an herbalist. This is all I do 24 hours a day. I identify as this. If I wasn't doing this, I'm like, I don't even know who the hell I am anymore, right? And so a cop always sees himself as a cop. And so everybody tends to view themselves through the thing they spend most of their time. For a stay-at-home mom, they're going to identify as a mother, and that is a profession that takes way more time than being an herbalist. And so when a person retires or a child leaves the nest, that empty nest syndrome. So it can be a menopausal thing. You're like, well, I guess I'm done being a mom now because not making any more babies. Depression is super common. A loss of self is very common. And it's not only a woman's, I'll use this for a dude who's lost themselves in a transition. I hate to say it, I see so common for dudes who did their 50 years, got the gold watch, they're retired, they identified as their job, and that was where all their friends came from their job. They go home and they sit there and grab a 6-pack of beer and watch the ball game. They're dead in 5 years, I guarantee it. For the person who says, I'm going to get another career, I'm going to take up art, I'm going to go be a docent at the thing, I'm going to go trap, those people will live for freaking ever, right? They have a purpose. They know who they are, they have a sense of self, and they're actively engaged in life. And so those people never age, they live forever, and it's all good. This can help ease that transition. I also like it for the blood pressure frequently goes up on women, perimenopause, menopause. This is not for like 220 over 110. This isn't strong enough. For the 140, 150 over 90, it's probably just like, I don't know what the hell is going on. My hormones are going wacky. This is perfect. I really love this herb for that. You find it's really funny. You also find relationships fall apart when the kids leave the nest or the husband retires. Because you sleep a third of your day, you spend a third of your day working. I know, it's like crack cocaine. and all of a sudden you're both home, there's no kids to distract you, and you're like staring at each other going, who the hell are you? I met you 40 years ago. I don't know who you are anymore. And you're like, you're an asshole. I'm out. And so either there's no desire, or literally they're rethinking their whole purpose of like, why are we here pissing each other off? So that's stressful. This tends to help. It takes the edge off and that lack of desire. And so it's not an aphrodisiac, but if I'm stressed, I want to get lucky, right? I want to feel present and not overthinking. So I really like this one for that. Tends towards women, but totally appropriate for men. All right. So Wiraporma, it's an African herb. This one's, it can be used for men and women. It tends to be touted for women. Excuse me, it tends to be touted for men better. This is more of a debility, like getting older. It combines well with ginseng and poor circulation or kind of like slower heartbeat and things like that. I'm glad y'all are eating all this because I'm going to stuff my pie hole when you leave. I don't use a lot of this. Too much is too much, and you'll cause anxiety, but it's very blood flow oriented for male or female. And a couple of these are going to be very blood flow oriented. That if whether we're using it to cause erectile function with the men, but for clitoral stimulation, for the engorgement, the lips around the vagina, vaginal opening, you need blood flow. Without blood flow, there isn't the sensation, there isn't the pleasure. You're likely not, without sensation, you're also not going to get the vaginal secretions that to prevent there from being painful intercourse. So blood flow is super important. This one of the blood flow herbs is kinder and gentler. But I would say I would never exceed maybe 5 grams. Anything over 5 grams, you probably did too much. Like you're going to start to like now just get racing heartbeat, anxiety, things like that. So less is more with this one. Yay, Shadavari. I love the translation. She who possesses 100 husbands. So like they got some badass women who are taking this. This is the same as, I've heard arguments that it's not, but the Chinese don't quite have that cool of a name. But there's a Chinese herb called Tianmendong, which is the same as Shadavari. This is awesome for that perimenopausal, menopausal woman. It is moistening and nourishing. For vaginal dryness, it's phenomenal. It's very grounding, letting you be present. And just like a lot of times somebody's just feeling not unstable. That sounds like you have a mental health issue, but not grounded. I'll go with that. This one, it's a root that's in the ground, it goes deep into the ground, and just makes you feel present and empowered. That's the right word for it. This is more of a long-term use rather than a Saturday night herb for a woman. Nettle root. This is primarily a dude one. Nettle root, nettle plant as a whole is just a phenomenal plant. The nettle leaf is a great antihistamine. It's also very nourishing and mineralizing. We use it a lot of times with any kind of anemia. The seeds of stinging nettle is specific for kidney function, slightly moistening, and the root tends to have an affinity to the prostate for men. But there's an argument that it can be used as a uterine tonic as well. So just think below the belly button. But this is by itself, meh. In combination with other things like saw palmetto, great herb. So I rarely use the root by itself, but in combination, it can guide to the prostate or to the uterus. We do, I forget the name of this. So I would say urticas are generally good nourishing. This is stingy nettles. We do have a species here. It's like the heart leaf stingy nettles that's native to Florida. Totally can use it the same. Saw palmetto. Florida native, yay. We always talk about this as a male herb specific for BPH, benign prostate hyperplasia, enlarged prostate. And it's really funny. Like, this is probably the first line of defense for enlarged prostate for men. I get a lot of dudes in here, especially like the 40-ish years old, prostate's enlarged. They come here like, what herbs do I do? And like, I have a whole list of stuff. One of the things that's helpful is orgasm often, which does go counter to the Chinese concepts of don't do it too much. And so they're all like, oh, I can't wait to show my wife that. And I was like, I didn't say she had to do it. And they don't get so happy anymore. So the biggest thing is movement, healthier foods, as good essential fatty acids, and saw palmetto is an important part of this. The reason, and for a lot of men who've used saw palmetto, they're like, it didn't do shit. It's better in formula, but it can be used. There's a lot of crap out there that's just not very good. If you ever find the fruit, saw palmetto is all over. It's literally like at the corner of the bank over here. That's a saw palmetto bush. It's got saw teeth on the side. You reach into it, you'll slice your hand to ribbons. It will get a fruit, it'll start green, and then as it starts to turn black, that's when it's ready to pick. If you get one black and you like touch it, it gets mushy. The smell on your hand is so revolting. It sticks to you. You can't wash it off easily. I don't know if you can rot soap, but if you could, that's what it would smell like, and it will stick to your skin. It'll get in your hair and just look. Yeah. I always say, if you want to know if you have a good saw palmetto supplement, open up the capsule, eat it, and you should really be disgusted by it. If you're not, it's probably a crappy supplement. So it is an easy way to tell. Next time you see a saw palmetto bush, touch some fruit, have some soap nearby. It is not limited to dudes. So this is one of the things we see in a lot of cases of PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, women who get cysty things on their ovaries. When it becomes a more serious problem, their testosterone levels are usually elevated, and we see heavier bone structure. We'll see some body hair, facial hair outside of the norm, and they'll frequently get some hair thinning or baldness associated with it. And for the same reason that dudes get an enlarged prostate, it's just women don't have a prostate, so it's got to show up somewhere. We have not two types of testosterone. We've got free testosterone, and then we've got dehydrotestosterone, the used up testosterone. And if our body's perfect and we're doing everything, we excrete it normally. When it doesn't, it causes certain tissues to swell like that, or our hair starts to fall out, male pattern baldness. So for women dealing with elevated testosterone or PCOS, and now in hormone replacement therapies, I'm watching some of these hormone docs are cranking people's. I had a woman in here, she was like 35, 40 years old. We're like, oh, you got low testosterone. Cranked it up like iron mine and started to get facial hair, angry, punching walls. And they were the stupid pellets they put in your butt. So she couldn't just take them out. And it was just like, what idiot cranked it? And they wanted to keep doing it. And I was like, please stop. The patient didn't want to, the doctor wanted to keep giving it. So I like getting normal level. 50-year-olds shouldn't be 20, you'll break a hip. The other people who really need saw palmetto is female to male. Am I going that way? Yeah, female to male transgender. Got to get my shit right. One of the problems they're like, yay, facial hair, all those male sexual characteristics, but then the hair falls out because they're not going to be as good at processing out the used up testosterone, the DHT. So anytime I have a patient who is transgender, female to male, I just put them on a prostate formula. They don't have to take it every day, but there's nothing wrong with taking it every day. So the worst part is it can be hard on the belly, so take it with food, and usually the easy answer. Oh, good. We made it to this one. This is a lesser known herb, tongue cottolea. I've heard it called long jack. This comes from Papua New Guinea. One of the things that this is a Saturday night herb. It can be taken long term. It's in your tea. I have another tea out there that's male and female oriented. Both of them are male female oriented. but it is about blood flow. So, we said that for whether it's a clitoris or a penis, the blood vessels actually relax for it to engorge with blood. And when we look at, a blessing or a curse, the invention of Viagra was not created as a sexual function herb. Viagra was created as a blood pressure medication. And what you see is you're not supposed to take Viagra if you're on blood pressure medication, because it drops your blood pressure so low, like for a good time, you pass out on the floor. Low blood pressure is just as dangerous as high blood pressure. And so a lot of our aphrodisiac Saturday night herbs have a function similar to Viagra by relaxing the blood vessels and driving blood flow. The tongue-cut elite does not, this is the catch-22. People who have high blood pressure need their blood pressure meds. The doctors tend to push your blood pressure lower than maybe is necessary to save your life, valid, or there's certain just more genetic traits where they're like, you're on 3 blood pressure meds and barely under control. Erectile dysfunction is normal. Like the higher the dosage of blood pressure meds, the more they put you on, your junk's not going to work. And Viagra is, you just can't, you're literally going to pass out. It's dangerous. And one of the other herbs we're going to look at, also dangerous, the L-arginine, dangerous, opens up the blood vessels. I've had this used with a number of people on blood pressure meds who have failed with all the other herbs. This one has been safe for them. Every time I give it to somebody who's taking it because they're on blood pressure meds, I was like, please watch it. And spread. This one is hard for me to eat. Like I'll break off a piece and I'm just like, I'm gonna have to take this out. I had this growing for a while and I neglected it and it died, but I do believe it is a tropical plant. I do believe we can grow this here. It's the root that's primarily used, so you got to kill the damn tree to do it. It has a role, I think, in testosterone production and recovery from exercise, kind of similar to ginseng. But I would say this is one of my secret weapons. It's my go-tos for dudes who are struggling. And women who are struggling. Yohimbe, this is like another African tree. It's touted as like, it is the herbal. Please don't take this herb. I have seen more side effects from this herbs than anything else. This is what they sell in the gas stations. This is what they sell online. If you take this herb and you're getting either clitoris or penis to engorge, you're also probably having anxiety, tachycardia, insomnia, sweating, all kinds of really fun symptoms that aren't hot. Actually, they're very hot. But the one positive, this was actually a prescription medication at some point. There was yohimbine HCl was a prescription drug that was specific for diabetic impotence because it did such a good job of driving blood to the penis and causing those vessels to open up, even despite the inflammation. But the side effects were so bad, they took it off the market after 3 or 4 years. What I do like that for, and mostly I put this in here to discourage you all, if you just do the smallest dosage in a formula, it will guide the other herbs to the genitals, male or female. And so if it's high enough dosage to engorge with blood, you've done it wrong. Literally, like if you did 25 milligrams, a quarter of a gram, that would probably be about the right dosage. I will also say, just generically, if you're buying an herbal pill, and sorry, this is mostly for the dudes, if you're buying an herbal pill that's like herbal Viagra and you're like, damn, this is powerful, it's a drug. It is the single most adulterated thing out there. Herbs are great. Yohimbe is the closest one that you can get to an actual herbal Viagra, where it's like, oh no, 2 hours later, junk's working. That will be Yohimbe. No other herb works quite to the level of Viagra. Tongkadali is the next one, and it's safer than this one. It comes close, but it doesn't make it to that level. I've found so many are just straight up adulterate. They're just Viagra in those, and sawdust maybe. So if your secret herb formula from China is working too good, you're doing drugs. So don't believe the hype. Sorry. Cordyceps. So what's the TV series with? Come on, where cordyceps made the zombies? Last of Us. Yeah, come on. I knew somebody knew it. So this is a phenomenal mushroom. It seems some people you read it's good for, like the Chinese, it's good for the lungs. Sure, whatever. This seems to be most effective long term. I prefer this to ginseng. It works best long term, as in not necessarily like getting away from the sexual function, from athletic performance and general ability as we age. The combination of cordyceps and reishi mushroom is phenomenal. It seems to improve your recovery time and endurance. Sexual function, yes, male or female. It is moistening, so it can help a little bit with vaginal dryness. I have a couple of long distance runners and things like that. And you know what, long distance run, as they get older, they're not running 10Ks at the same time that they used to run 10Ks. And this one guy is ridiculously good shape. One of those people who can run indefinitely. And he goes, I had him on this for maybe a month, and it was the reishi cordyceps combination. And I was actually giving it to him for something else. In his late 30s, he could run a 10K every day. He didn't need the 2 or 3 days recovery time in between. And he started to run some of his best times. And he wasn't even trying. He was just like, nope, life was just easy running this crap. And so I love that reishi cordyceps combination. And now with the movie fame, TV series, I think it's just fun. It does taste nasty. You can put it in a pot of soup. I prefer it as a capsule because it tastes weird. I'm going to stop on Hisha Wu for a second, just because. Why not? We need to eat more shit. These are like date coconut yummy rolls. This is a, sorry, I got to check it and make sure it's safe. This is a rose honey infusion that I made. It's so good. Please help yourself. And more chocolate in case there wasn't enough. This is I don't know, look yummy. I wanted something chocolatey. This is a hazelnut, and I gotta make sure this one's safe. Hazelnut chocolate that I got from Rolling Oats. That's okay. And that's some weird cookie. I don't even know. I always feel like I'm neglecting you guys. And that's a seaweed snack. Because of its salty nature, in case we're not eating oysters. Sweet snack, the hormone balancing, and then the warming nature of the sesame processed seaweed to provide some benefit. God, I love both of those dips. Oh yeah, those are mango.
Yeah.
Random shit. I don't know. I like mango, so I only buy things that I'll eat if y'all don't. So
Does the rose have any nuts in it?
there's no nuts in the rose. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's literally honey and rose powder.
I have a co-working office
Yeah,
and they have the big tub where they keep filled with dried mango. But I don't know where they get it, but it's covered in sugar. Like they sprinkle sugar on it. And I
Yeah, it's so intense.
and I like wash it off and it's like, why are you?
It's like, yeah, it's sweet enough. You don't need to add that crap on there. Yeah, it's so funny. I don't know why people do, like, even somewhere I didn't put it out because I didn't know how to like differentiate it from the other ones. I love the ginger, and they're candied ginger, but like it's so hot and they're like, oh, and the sweet is like magic. Yeah, I'd start hot flashing. Um, no particular purpose other than that look yummy and y'all need a snack. So Hisha Wu is a Chinese herb. It was really popular in the 70s and 80s. It kind of lost favor and it kind of comes and goes. There was some entrepreneurs in Hawaii changed its name to Fo Tea. I have no idea why, but sometimes you'll find it listed as Fo Tea. This is male or female anti-aging. I would say from a sexual function, probably better for women because of the moistening properties for it. So that perimenopausal, menopausal stuff. But also used for men for infertility, erectile function, just from aging. The name is always funny. Mr. He's black hair is Hisha Wu is he is the family name. Wu is black. And so the story goes that Mr. He was no count drunk with gray hair at 30 years old, couldn't father any children with his wife. So if one more drunken night, his wife get the hell out, throws his drunken ass out, and he passes out by a tree, and he wakes up and there's this vine curled up going up the tree, and he has hallucination, vision, whatever you want to call it. And he goes, this is the answer to all my ails. And he digs up the roots from this, goes off into a cave, and comes out a year later. His gray hair is now black. He's vibrant, healthy, strong, comes out, fathers a million children with 6 wives, and lives to be 212 years old. Good luck with that. But like, ha ha ha, cute story. Mom in her 70s, mom like facelifts, dyed her hair, trying to fool everybody that she was 40 when she was almost 80. And so she had a breast cancer scare. And so she was like, all right, I'm going to stop all the bullshit. And she stopped coloring her hair and things like that. And I tell all my students, don't treat family. So I cared about my mom, but I'm like, I'm not treating you because, so I send her to see one of the other practitioners here. And somehow they got my mother to drink raw herbs every day. Like she was cooking that shit up. And one of the herbs in her formula, the big formula, was Hisha Wu. And maybe 6 months or a year into it, my mom's getting her hair cut. She's at her hairstylist, and they're like, Shirley, you got black roots coming in. It's the Hisha Wu. Clipta is the other one. That's a Ayurvedic herb is a Clipta. I'll frequently put those together. And I forget there's a weird chemical that causes the graying that you can change it. And so there is an anti-aging because we identify our gray hair as like, you old now, right? And so it does have a role. I don't know what it does to blondes, but good luck with that. So anti-aging, menopausal symptoms, vaginal dryness, overall just weakness. I'll put a caution on it. It is moistening, so it can be hard on the digestion, so it'll cause loose stools if you try to do it on empty stomach or you got weak digestion. There's something sold in the Asian markets called Shou Jin that I just say no. There was a number of cases about 15 years ago, I think, in China, where a bunch of liver failures and crap, and it was all tied back to Hisha Wu, but specifically in alcohol extractions out of China. It could have been the alcohol, right? There's plenty of creepy stuff that comes out of China. Or it could have been they were pulling out a chemical out of the Hisha Wu that doesn't come out in water extraction. So I always say, do it as a capsule, do it as a pill, boil it up in water, but don't do an alcohol extraction of it. The potential for an issue is there. There's also, and I don't have it listed on here. We use the root is the Hisha Wu. The stem is Yi Jiao Teng. And we use this to nourish the blood and calm the mind. And so I particularly like the two together for those people who are getting like, as we get older, we get anxious, you're afraid of falling, you're all this stupid shit that happens as we get older. And so using both the root and the stem together, very moistening and nourishing, but the combination also calms the mind nicely. This is a local booger. This grows everywhere. If you go to like any of the parks, boy, the parking lot, This is like this orangey, yellow vine that's like draped over the trees, over bushes. It's very seasonal. It's coming out right now. It is considered an invasive. I purposely leave it in the trees out here because I think it's a great vine. It's Chinese herb. This is a Caribbean herb. We call it love vine down in the islands. This went into all of our aphrodisiac formulas. Every local bar had like this gallon jug of a bunch of weeds pushed in there. That was the Saturday night formula that you buy shots for $20. You're like, there, I'm Superman. Be stupid. It was so without a doubt, this is for sexual function. I wouldn't call it it's somewhere between I need nourishment and Saturday night. So you're not going to take this and an hour later have perfect sexual activity, but I would say a couple days of taking this, sexual function is improved. It's frequently used for fertility, frequent urination, loss of urine control. Yeah.
Is it parasitic?
Yes, it is definitely parasitic. So don't pick it off of poison ivy. I'm not sure whether that transfers, but it is parasitic.
Does that, it being a parasitic, like have any kind of energetic quality of like something?
Not that I know. We use actually a lot of parasitic plants as medicine, like mistletoe is a parasitic one that's used. There's a bunch of different related species of mistletoe that are phenomenal herbs, tend to balance things out a lot of times. This one's also used for spiritual practices. The binding ceremony that, is what did we do before we had a priest marry us kind of thing, or the, justice of the peace. So we would literally bind ourselves to somebody. The love vine was used to bind. You can also use this in yes, we're going to do a ceremony. We're going to bind ourselves together. Yay. Or you can be doing some dark stuff and say, I'm going to bind your ass to me. Careful what you wish for. Hi, 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 hi. Get the fuck away from me. So I always caution you start wanting to do some spiritual shit. There is an action and a reaction. So this is a Florida native. It technically doesn't grow. It grows fine here. I've got 2 bushes of this growing. It's much more common as we get down to the Miami and the Keys. This was one of the biggies down in the Bahamas. This was our equivalent to ginseng. I would say even a little bit better. Strong back is its common name. And it's like, I'm getting old. The last thing on my mind is sex. And so it helps to give you a strong back so that you can stand up strong, and helps with both male and female strength and virility. It tastes nasty. So it's very bitter. All the best herbs are. I've not used it with the marigold for menstrual pain, but that was a really common practice down in the islands to combine those two together. It's funny, Western herbalists, we don't use marigolds a lot, but as we start to hit Mexico and the Caribbean, it's like super common. It has no relationship to calendula, but if it was me, they look similar. I would probably use calendula in place of the marigold, but that's just me. It's very easy. It's a forgiving plant. It's full sun, crappy soil. It totally doesn't care once you establish plant. Suma. This is a South American herb. I love my South American herbs almost as much as the Caribbean ones. This is sometimes the South American ginseng. I haven't found the plant to grow it yet, but think very ginseng, male or female. Seems to have a real function on inflammation in the bones and joints, and helps to generate muscle tissue. So it's having to have some sort of a role in testosterone. The one I haven't figured out, and I didn't believe it when I read it, was its role specifically in sickle cell anemia. And so it seems to make the cells close. It doesn't cure sickle cell, I wish, but anybody who has sickle cell, blood flow is a major issue for them, clotting and death associated with it. it seems to reduce the stickiness of the cells without thinning the blood. And I found dozens of clinical research showing its benefits for that. Generally, a very safe herb. Not that we see a lot of sickle cell, but it definitely is one of those things that is probably my first line of defense when somebody comes in with sickle cell. I'm running out of time. Sorry, there's no actual video. It wasn't that interesting. Oats in general. So we have like oatmeal, not really sexual, but very nourishing. It's good for you. And so it's kind of processed. When we look at oat straw, and that's literally, oats are grass, right? And so when we make oatmeal, we're just taking the seeds off of that grass and we're cooking it down, making porridge. So oat straw is the leaf of that, very mineralizing and nourishing, slightly calming. Oat tops are more moistening, particularly good for vaginal dryness. And then milky oats are a particular like week or two stage when the fruit, when you squeeze the fruit, it squirts out this milky substance, hence the milky oats. The term sow your wild oats is a reference to milky oats. And so it has both a moistening, cooling, nourishing function, male and female. It is considered a phenomenal best line of defense nervine, i.e., I've got frazzled nerves or loss of nervous function or any kind of chronic nerve thing. Twitching would be appropriate. But it's also the milky oats specifically added to formulas to increase both the semen, vaginal secretions to make sure, and when we have nerve pain from vaginal dryness or any kind of other vaginal issues, this is just a lovely way to go. The problem is it's hard to get true milky oats. Like we order 40 pounds at a time. We hope we get some for our students. We get enough for the year. And the folks we get it from, they're like, we're sending it next week. And then they harvest it and overnight it to us. And then we immediately have to tincture it. So it's pain in the ass, but it's worth it. Oat tops is the next best thing, but it's just not the same.
It's something that would be beneficial if you got it dry.
Yeah, it's still beneficial. I would say it's just the dried oat tops, great nervine, moistening, all that. It doesn't have a sexual function. It's like, it's all right. You're not sowing your wild oats if you're not using the milky oats. I literally have no. Yay! How do I have that on there twice? Pretty milky oats. Passion flower. For erectile dysfunction caused by anxiety, this is my go-to. And I would say a lack of orgasm due to overthinking, i.e., am I doing it right? Do they like me? The internal dialogue will totally destroy a good time. And so this passion flower has nothing to do with passion, but the name helps. It's actually Passion of Christ, the crown of thorns, blah, 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 because the flower kind of looks like that. The leaf and flower is the strongest part, but even passion fruit, and both the Passiflora incarnata and the Passiflora edilis, which is the one that makes a shit ton of fruit, has a mild effect. It is specific for that circular thinking where you're sitting there going, and I hate to say it, every dude has gotten erectile dysfunction at some point. It usually involves alcohol. It's so normal. It's the time after that where you're like, oh my God, I'm broken. It'll never work again. And so you psych yourself out and your shit doesn't work. And if you do that enough times, your shit won't work. You need passion flower. It's really common. It's, and it can be in long committed relationships, whatever, doesn't matter. Overthinking your junk is a problem. And male and female, I used to say men, it was blood flow, and women, it was overthinking. And I tended to use this for women. I'm finding dudes are overthinking way more in the last 10 years than I ever saw before in practice. This is now my go-to for most dudes. So it's a huge problem, and I think it's not addressed. And I can't even tell you how many guys who are going to their doctor saying, I got erectile dysfunction. The doctor gives them testosterone and Viagra, and it doesn't work because they actually need an anti-anxiety or passion flower. Oh, was that my last one? Oh, okay. I guess that's my last one. I can't believe I actually made it through. Yay, more spam. I hope I see you all at lots of stuff. The whole idea of we're surrounded by aphrodisiacs. It has less to do with some magical herb and more to do with the person you're sharing an experience with. I was going to do one other thing. I did taste, you all got to taste the honey. It's not just for pancakes. This is in your tea that we made. Maple syrup is way better for you than sugar or that fake stuff. Pour a little in your hand. This is sweeter, more nourishing, and mineralizing. Honey can be put on everything. Or excuse me, not honey. Maple syrup can be put on any. You put on a steak, right? What do? We do maple bacon, right? And so it has a role. A much neglected or not you blackstrap molasses. So for men and women both, this one's going to be a little harder to pour. Sorry, this one's messy. You're going to have to lick it off your fingers. Blackstrap molasses is high in iron, phosphorus, and calcium. And so building blood for women who are anemic frequently need iron. And so this is an earthy sweet that I really like. I use blackstrap molasses as a sweetener more than I do sugar and honey and things like that. If I don't eat pancakes, but if I were, I'd probably at least cut it, my maple syrup with blackstrap molasses. I think it's fun because it gets sticky all over you and somebody's got to clean that shit off. And it's nutritive, right? So we're working on better health by having a good time. Every food, every herb is an aphrodisiac if it's presented correctly. And the thing we forget the most is getting out of our own brains, getting out of our own way, and allow ourselves to have fun and being present and sharing the experience with someone who's special and you know, sharing those ideas. So I hope that you don't reserve it only for February 14th, but you party down and throw food at each other all the time. So, thank you all for giving up your Friday. Thank you, whoever the hell's online still. I don't know. I'm just ignoring you all. And if anybody's got questions, feel free to ask away. Help me eat this shit. Now I want to like mix all the dips and see what comes out here. I want to try a piece of that. I don't usually like this.
No, the other you.
Actually, I like the sesame roasted one. That's actually pretty good.
Is that foam, great stuff foam mushroom still out there?
So, ooh,
The foam looking blob hanging.
oh, I think it's foam.
Yeah, well, I can stand on the shoulders and we can pick it and find out for sure.
I look at that like that's
It
foam.
looks like foam,
It's foam.
but I want to go see what's out there. Somebody sprayed that there intentionally.
I think somebody sprayed that intentionally. I know. Well, questions, thoughts? More chocolate needed?
I'm so full.
I know. This is my dinner tonight.
Stuff.
If anybody likes that tea, we did bag some up out there. There's the intimate tea, I think is what I called it. It was so stupid, but it's cute. Is male and female, very much focused on sexual function with the tongue cotyledus, the primary herb. There's another one out there, men's stamina formula. Although it has the sexual function to it, it turned out a bunch of people were using it for workouts as like a pre-workout. not just for sex. And there's like a couple of Bucks players were taking it for a while because we were selling it to a one coffee shop and they come in just to buy that. So those are out there if you ever need them. Hopefully in a couple more weeks, the tea trailer will be making that shit and having it out there. Come and eat. Don't make me eat all this shit.
You're feeling sweet.
I was
I brought cookies.
gonna say, these are coming home with me. I love my
I
gifts.
can't even think about it.
Not gonna waste that shit. Damn, I'm gonna be up for a week with this. All this chocolate in me. Ooh, I never did try these. I went and cleaned rolling oats out. Ooh, these are pretty good cookies. Whoop. Last one's mine.
Pick this thing with me.
Like how I kept my own private stash here. Anybody want some of the candied ginger?
Yeah.
I like it. I didn't want to traumatize anybody.
I used to have a cook that would make it.
Potato chips.
Yeah, those are potato chips. Pickled ginger, or,
Oh,
candied ginger.
that's the one you've been eating, coughing on.
I can, no. I love that shit.
Try some of your cookies.
Yeah, I didn't make them, sorry.
Yeah, but where you get it from?
Rolling oats, yeah. This I believe. I appreciate you all being bold and eating all the weird foods.
So you think the mint stamina would use for pre-workout?
I don't actually remember what's in there, but we do have the recipe written down
Yeah,
somewhere.
yeah.
Oh, fat and happy. Man, everybody online, y'all were quiet. Although admittedly, I wasn't looking at the chat, so maybe y'all were yelling at me the whole time.
Say something by now.
Who?
Yeah, Michael would say something.
Yeah.
This is the first time I haven't heard Michael.
Oh, yeah.
3 years.
Tell
Mike I said 3 years I haven't heard Michael talk.
I
3
did.
years.
I would say if you registered, yeah, we got your email, so we'll send out the recording if anybody cares. I don't know whether I'll put it on YouTube. It might happen. I don't think I said anything too horrendous. Sometimes it happens. All kinds of stupid shit comes out of my mouth sometimes.
I just remember, I was like thinking about like phytoestrogens and like, have you seen any, there's a bunch of plants, phytoestrogens, like,
Right.
bee pollen or whatever that. Do you ever see like that being an issue with
Like breast cancer or something?
like, with just like dudes, like if a dude was taking like eating a lot of stuff
Oh,
with the phytoestrogens, like, do you see those effects and be like, you should stop doing that?
it's funny, and I spared you all the story about the Yohimbe. I had this is like my first or second year in practice, like some years ago. And these two folks came in. They were the ones who were like, "What do you got for master's nature?" And one of them was transgender, male to female, and he wanted somebody to grow breasts. And I was like, dude, take the hormones, like, and things like the oh God, what is it? Not angelic, I mean angelic root would probably do it. But it was like you take them and it can increase like a half or maybe a whole bra, but then the second you stop taking it, it goes right back. So it's kind of bullshit. It's like the fenugreek. It causes some breast distension. So it's like, man.
But like reversible.
Yeah. It was funny that the entertaining part of that story was I ended up saying, I was clearly bored that day because I ended up basically doing this lecture to these two guys standing there. And they were like, no, we want the yohimbe. I was like, no, seriously, take any herb, but not the yohimbe. And they're like, no, we want something. I was like, hey, buyer beware. Oh, geez, you got it. It is styrofoam, I
Yeah,
take
it's
it.
our greatest staphylococcus, grows on live oaks.
Somebody filled a hollow in the tree.
That's hilarious. But they got the little $5 bag of yohimbe and they're going to check out and they're like, oh, this is okay to do with crack, right? I was like, give me that shit.
So just to check first, like, can I do crack real quick in the parking lot? Yeah.
It never ceases to amaze me the shit that There's never a dull moment.
Um, Binding.
Yeah. It'll be my mystery toy. I guess we'll save these for tomorrow. Oh, yeah, you're here in class tomorrow, aren't you?
I will eat these. Tomorrow.
I don't want to leave it on the pretty stuff. I think we're just, I got lids. I say we just leave the stuff that won't get furry.
There we go.
Does it really go with our class? Oh, that's perfect. I will redistribute this in the morning. Oh my God, I am full.
Yeah.
It's the honey jar. Oh, no, that's the old one.
We just put this over there with the.
Just put it on the table here. It'll all be fine. Honey, honey, honey. Oh, there's the honey jar. I was like, I know I got the lid for it. It will not be as pretty tomorrow, and y'all will get over it. Oh. Wow. Pickle.
Hey, Bob, is there a temperature you have with either your formulas you have out there? As far as water goes?
The one we just tasted is definitely warm. The men's stamina, neutral to warm. I don't think any of them are cold.
So you can't put any of them in on ice?
Oh, on ice? Oh, yeah, you can do that. You'll
Yeah,
die.
with that change, yeah, so you know,
Probably not.
okay.
Not so much that it would matter. Doing my perfectly warm tea.
Yes.
When you like.
It's getting hot again too, so that's.
Cold.
Hey, I know my belly's got a cold exterior, cold irritant exterior, and my belly is hot. So when I eat, I sweat. Yeah, people always say, what? Like, hey, don't ask me. I don't know.
Explain the energetic.
I'm a confusing case. You never
So
figure
many
me out.
different
And who does, he changes.
There's a good guitarist at the North End Tap House playing right now.
Oh.
He needs more stuff.
As tempting as that is, I'm going to review for class tomorrow. Good night, sir.
He's responsible.
Like, I'm pretty sure I have a PowerPoint for tomorrow, but I'm not positive. Figured I'd better make sure.
Well, I'm gonna go burn the candle at both ends then.
Partay.
See you later.
See you later. Don't have
We're
too
gonna
much
go
fun.
flying.
Huh?
We're gonna go airplane flying.
Ah,
When?
don't tease me. Playing in the garden.
It's so pretty out there, right? That was an awesome class, Bob. Thank you.
Cool.
Nice.
I still remember from that trip.
Yeah, we took notes.
All right, guys, I'm signing off. Bye. Thanks for playing.